We've got less than a month now to go before the NHL regular season begins, so it's time to take a look at the St. Louis Blues roster and decide what we expect for each of their players for the upcoming season. Which players are we buying and selling on? Who could improve? Who could take a step back? Will any players reach new career highs or have their careers start to fall off a little bit? We're going to talk about all that and more today on Note News. Welcome into another episode of Note News. We're a St. Louis Blues podcast going live twice a week. I think we're going to start getting back into that schedule again. I know we've been going just weekly now lately, but as we ramp up to the preseason and the regular season, I think we're going to start getting back into that twice a week schedule. So if you want to, catch the tail end of off-season coverage and stick with us as we roll into the regular season of the NHL, which starts, as I said, in less than a month now. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like this video, follow, rate, review wherever you listen. We're on Spotify and Apple. And then follow us on socials, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Note News Pod. Post a lot of other great stuff on all those platforms. Those are the best ways to interact with us and follow along with us and make sure you never miss an episode. We really, really like engaging with our listeners and viewers. So please, join the live streams, comment in the chat. Rob and Matt are here already. We love having them. Comment on our videos after the fact if you miss them. You can leave comments on Spotify, and then social media is also a great way to engage with us. So yeah, we appreciate all the support we've gotten so far, including 500 subs. And sort of on that note, in terms of fan engagement and interaction, I won't really get into this because we did this last episode, but if you haven't heard yet, we're doing a fantasy hockey league. The link to sign up is below. That will cut off this upcoming Monday at midnight, which I don't know the exact date of this upcoming Monday. Alec, do you know it off the top
The
of your head?
15th.
Okay, the 15th at midnight, it'll cut off. So if you want to join, there are unlimited spots. So we're just doing a listener viewer fantasy hockey league that you'll be competing against us. So we'd love to have all those who want to play join us. Link to sign up is in this episode description. So yeah, should be fun. Well, Alec, why don't we go ahead and get into our conversation today? So what we're doing today is going player by player. Maybe if we have time, we can bring in some other personnel like we do sometimes, but we'll just stick with the players at least, um, and sort of describe, or I guess sort of tease out through conversation whether we're buying or selling on each player. And so what I wanted to do at the top, I don't really have an idea, like a concrete idea in mind of what we, mean when we say buy and sell. How do you want to take this? Like, would buying just be I expect them to have a better year than last year? Or would buying be, or like in the points column, I expect them to have more points? Would buying be something like, for instance, like Jordan Kyrou, who like his improvements last year were much more peripheral. I expect, this player to improve somehow. It might not show up in the point total, but in the aggregate, in the peripherals, you know, player improvement I'm buying on. Um, or would it be like more long term? Like I think this player will, you know, in the next several years, like I'm buying on. So how are you sort of approaching this? How do you want to take this? Those are just a few ideas, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think mine is sort of relative to their previous career up to that point, and with emphasis on the previous season. So it's kind of like what that example you use with Kairu. If they improved on stuff, on the margins or whatever, but maybe we're missing some uh, element of production. I think that can still be considered an improvement on the whole, um, versus like if they were to just increase their point totals. I think that still counts as an improvement, even if, say, like they lose out on another side of their game or something. Um, And so I think it's for me it's excuse me. Can they improve somehow on what they've shown us up to this point in their career, as well as up to this point in or where they were coming into last season. And I think that'll make sense as we get into the um, conversation here. My apologies. So that's kind of where my head's at.
So we're just thinking improvements on last season. Are we buying them to have a better year than last year? Is sort of what you're thinking.
Partially, and it doesn't have to be just production, but I'm thinking
Sure.
just improvements as a performer.
Maybe we'll just say steps in the right direction versus steps in the wrong direction.
There you
Does
go.
that sound good? Cool. So another thing I want to go ahead and decide now, and maybe we'll change our minds as we get going. Are we allowed to hold on a player? Are we allowed to say, I don't
Ooh.
know, I don't have a big opinion one way or another, and maybe I would like, 2 years to decide what my thoughts are on this player? Are we allowing holds, or do you think we should take a stance one way or another?
I think we can allow holds. I think it is like try and limit the amount of holds, I guess.
Sure, sure. Okay, and then I guess that sort of plays into this one, and maybe we won't have to, but are we allowing like soft sell or soft buy? I know there's a lot of questions I'm asking, but I think it's important to set some rules here early on.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I guess if we're doing holds, it makes sense. Like if we're allowing some gray area, it makes sense to have like some space to like lean one way or another without, I guess, being all in on, because it's just a measure of confidence, I guess. And so if we're optimistic but not extremely confident in a player, that might be like a soft buy. Um, so I don't know. I think with the rules we've set up so far, that there's space for it.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So should we go? My initial thought was to go in alphabetical order, but it might be actually, yeah. Let's just go in alphabetical order because I think that way we'll sort of mix in and out of like the top players and some depth players, instead of going in like order of points from last year or something like that. So why don't we just do that? Um, well, and we're starting at the top here, with the man himself, Jordan Bennington. Um, we're going off of Hockey Reference, just their list of the roster, and we'll just go in alphabetical order here. Alec, are you buying or selling on Jordan Bennington? Let me just read to you his season stats from last year real quick as I get them pulled up here. So in 24-25, his age 31 season, Benner played 56 games. He started 54 of them. He had 28 wins, 22 losses, and 5 overtime losses. He had a save percentage of 900. He had a goal allowed average of 2.69. I don't have his goal saved above expected metric pulled up right now, but he was sort of, I want to say, pretty middle of the pack when it comes to goal saved above expected, or like slightly above average. I don't know. So what are you thinking on Benner? And I also want to say, for all those watching live, let us know your thoughts. Thanks, Rob. Rob said he's buying on Benner. So yeah, let us know your thoughts as we move through these players.
I'm with Rob here. I'm buying on Binner. I like what I like about Binner, I think is the chance to um really make a statement here where he's had solid to okay playoff or not playoff just
Regular
general
season.
thank you, regular season statistics throughout his career, but hasn't really had that wow amazing season, or not even a wow amazing season, but hasn't had like a you feel really really good about Binnington. And I think this is the year. I think he's hitting the right aging curve. He's hitting the right time in his career in St. Louis, and he's now got a lot more to play for. I think after saving like was it 45 shots or something in that Game 7 loss, I think he's got all the motivation in the world that a goaltender could need to prove that he is the guy. And I think with Hofer's new extension, looking down the line, if Bennington wants to look down the line a bit, that could be an area. I'm not necessarily projecting it, but it could be something that they want to take a closer look at. So yeah, I'm absolutely buying on Bennington. I think this is going to be a season of very solid play for him. Like I would hope for maybe around a 908 save percentage. I think would be a success, and that would be an improvement. So I'm looking for a step forward from Benner. I think he's got the defense in front of him. He's got, especially from the offense, the forwards, excuse me. He's got everything that he needs to go out and prove that he's one of the league's best. So I'm buying on Benner.
Nice. I think I will as well. He sort of, at least stats wise, took a step back last year compared with the prior season. But I think the motivation's there. And then, as you said, just like the track record's there. As Matt in the chat pointed out, it's an Olympics year. He'll be motivated to earn that spot on Team Canada. So
there you go.
Yeah, I think, I mean, big game Benner, like with like pressure seems to only help him. So maybe if they just hire like a team hypnotist and get him to think that it's game 7 every night, they'll send him out there and he'll be lights out. But yeah, I think I will buy as well. My bold prediction last summer, one of them was that he would win the Vesna. Again, it was a bold prediction. But I think we expected big things from him, and he sort of took a step back. I think this is sort of a year where we'll see him swing back the other way and make some progress towards that goal again. So just looking at some of his stats at the end of the season last year, just post Four Nations feels like a time window that we like to use a lot, just because that's when the team really started clicking and playing up to their full potential. He played 17 games, had a record of 13-3-1, and a save percentage of 910. So like pretty solid performance there. He was definitely helped by some really great team play as well, win streak and all that. But did really well. And then, as you said, in the playoffs this year was pretty great, especially when it mattered most. Game 4, game 6, and game 7. Like he was excellent each of those games, and was wasn't really the reason they lost any of the other games necessarily, but like he really shone in those games. Played 96 minutes in game 7, saved 43 of 47 shots. Like you can't really ask for much more. Like he is not the reason they lost there. So yeah, long-winded way of saying I'm on the same boat as you. I'm buying on Benner to have a better year than last year, and if they can get to the playoffs, do his thing yet again. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I found his goal saved above expected. It was 5.3. It was 29th in the league in the regular season. The year before, he had like the 5th best. So hopefully we can see something like that out of him yet again. Okay, let's move this train right along. The next guy, we've got like our first wild card here is Nick Bjugstad, just in the sense that we don't really know the guy very well. But last year in 66 games for Utah, had 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points. What other stats do you want? He shot 7%. He played an average of 12 minutes per game. Took like 400 plus face-offs, had a face-off win percentage of 47.4. Those are some of the stats for Bjugstad. Obviously signed in free agency. Year before that, he had a great year, 22 goals and 23 assists, so 45 points for Arizona back then. So down year for him last year, at least compared to year before. Gets signed over. We're thinking he'll be playing in the bottom 6, probably, most likely. Maybe that bottom line, if we had to guess today, at least if I had to guess today, is sort of where I'm leaning. He does feel like a hold, as Rob said in the chat. I'm going to try not to exercise a hold. I'm going to say that I'm buying on him. I think the situation in St. Louis is better than the situation in Utah. At least the situation in St. Louis this year is better than it was in Utah last year. I think I think you know he he might be playing bottom 6 minutes, but we saw the Blues really rely on the bottom six, especially that fourth line, a lot last year. So if he can really carve himself out a role on one of those lines and sort of earn his spot and hold on to it, I think we could see some jumps in production from him. Nothing huge, nothing crazy. Like I'm not expecting him to have a career year and break 45 points, which is his career high from a couple, or no, 49, I guess is his high. But I'm not really expecting him to break 45 points or anything like that. But am I expecting him to make some progress, break 19 points? Yeah, I think that is a fair expectation for him. I guess I'll say soft buy. Like I guess I'll exercise my first soft buy here, and that's my thought on Bukestad. But what do you think?
I'm absolutely on the buy stock for Bukestad train. The thing about Bukestad that makes him Bugstag, that is a tough Bukestad with a D.
Yeah,
Gosh,
yeah,
tough name to say for me. The thing about Bugstad that I'm excited about is he's a goal scorer. He plays bottom 6 minutes, but he can still find the back of the net pretty easily. Like you said, put up 22 goals in that 2024 campaign. Still put up 8 goals last season in 66 games, which at a pace is, I want to say, 12 goals off the top of my head. Quick math. But it's over 10 goals for sure. Keep in mind, last season, Radek Faksa, who was the sort of crown prince of the fourth line, and deservedly so, had 5 goals and 15 points. Was just not offering anything offensively. And Bukestad already did better than that in Utah last year in less games. I am think, geez, I think Bukestad is could have a really big year on the bottom six. He won't get the ice time that he did in that good 2024 campaign, and he really won't get the increased ice time probably for the remainder of his career. But he's got a big frame and he's got a great shot, and those two things can really play when you're only playing a certain amount of ice minutes. As long as it's, can you not lose and get dominated by the other team's top six? Bukestad is definitely going to help with that. So I'm absolutely buying on Bukestad. I think that he could be set for, like you said, not a career year, but relative to expectations, I think he could surprise, get north of 30 points.
yeah. And we had a great conversation on Bukestad with Sam recently. So go check out our recent episode. We had Sam on talking about some of this stuff, and yeah, he seemed to be pretty high on Bukestad as well. Cool. So our next guy, believe it or not, moving through the B's here is my guy Philip Broberg. So Alec, I'll let you start this one, and I guess I'll bring us home since this is my guy. But yeah, what are you thinking on? This is a conversation we've had. We're keeping the streak going here. We have this conversation quite a bit here on Note News. We love Broberg, at least I do. So thoughts on Broberg and his season? I'll go ahead and read to you his season stats real quick while you formulate your take here. But in 24-25, it was his breakout year. He played 68 games, so he had some injury trouble at times, but 68 solid games played there. 8 goals, 21 assists, 29 points. Got off to a hot start, cooled off a little bit offensively, but all around was a really great player for the Blues and really stabilized their second pair. So 25, 26. Do you expect him to take a step? And yeah, what are your thoughts? Are you buying or selling on Broberg?
Now, I get we are fans here, so obviously we're gonna be leaning towards optimism. I don't just want to buy on everybody.
I
And
know.
as hard, I was trying so hard to make the argument to sell on Broberg, and I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So Broberg, I'm buying stock on because I think he's going to get a lot more ice time, and I think that's a really big deal in
Hmm.
his development. He still played average minutes of 20 minutes a night, 20 minutes, 30 seconds, average time on ice last season, which is a lot. But I think he can get up to 21 minutes a night and close that gap towards it being a top line producer, or at least having the ice time of a top line defenseman. And with Broberg, I know I'll leave you to talk about Broberg theory, but it feels like with him, the offensive production was there. It just didn't show up on the stat sheet. So I'm absolutely like hopeful for Broberg's offensive numbers to jump up and hit a green light towards heading in the right direction. And defensively, I don't know that he can get much better. I mean, that's partially tongue in cheek because, didn't receive Norris votes or anything. So he's not literally one of the best defenders in the league, but like passes the eye test every single night. And his consistency for a defenseman is just so good to hear or good to see. I mean,
Hmm.
um, so I mean, Broberg, I have to buy because he had kind of like you said, he started out so hot and then he cooled off so much that he was just not producing at all in the final stretch of games. Um, I I have to buy with Broberg. I have to think that it's going to come around the other way because he's still a young player, only getting better. So I'm in on Broberg.
Yeah, I'm in as well. This will come as no surprise, and it's very obvious given my some of my points that I've made on the podcast in recent weeks. But like, yeah, I'm all in on this kid. I think if he can get off to a solid start in terms of individual offensive production and point production, I think there's a chance he could see his way onto the second power play unit, and maybe even continue to rack up some points there. It might be a stretch. Like I think Justin Falk is kind of is holding down that spot, but um, if Falk falls off a little bit offensively, and or if Broberg starts to get off to a hot start offensively, I could see that happening, and so that's another opportunity for him to start to accumulate some points there. Okay, when it comes to Broberg theory, I won't get into it too much because listeners have heard me talk about this so much, but where I'm expecting him to improve is again individual production. He is like a fantastic team player, adds so much value. Um, so really, the area of his game that needs the most progress is that individual point production. I see that coming this year. Maybe not a huge like a huge jump or anything like that, but do I see him improving on 8 goals and 29 points? Yeah, I do. So especially if he can stay healthy. So yeah, I'm looking for big things from Broberg, and I don't think we need to exhaust that too much, just because it's a discussion we've had a lot. Um, but I love that guy. Also, if you look at Daily Faceoff, they have line combination projections. They have like officially updated to the new Blues jerseys. It's so fun to see like all the names and numbers on there. They look so great. Um, okay,
I think
keeping
they're
us
going to look
going
so good
here.
on the ice.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I was hesitant. I am fully bought in now on these jerseys. Okay, closing out the Bs, we've got Pavel Buchnevich. Had a down year last year. Some of it, isn't necessarily his fault. I guess you could say he started the season playing second line center, not his natural position. Took him a while to sort of get back into the habit of playing like he usually does after they ended that experiment. But finished the season 76 games played, still scored 20 goals, had 37 assists, finished with 57 points. Still a decently productive season, but we're expecting bigger things out of Buchnevich just because of the contract he's being paid, as well as the production we've seen from him for uh, the 3 years before this most recent season. So he feels like to me a prime candidate to buy, just because you know a full season, a full off season of preparation, a full season getting to play at his natural position, hopefully on that top line with Robert Thomas as a center. He'll be looked to be the main goal scorer on that line, unless Jimmy Snuggerud really gets going. So I'm buying on him to have a much better year than last year. I'm hoping he can turn his defense around as well. What are your thoughts on Buchnevich, and which way are you leaning?
I'm not so much on the. I think his defense is what it is at this point in his career. It seems that he has lost a step of athleticism, but I do think the shooting is going to come up. I think the shot on goal totals. His career average is 173, and last season he had 145 shots on goal, which is a massive dip. And in his last two full seasons or close to full seasons of games, he had 207 and 199 shots on goal. versus, again, 145. So I think it's absolutely the shots on goal are going to come up, and that's what it's going to take to get him to come back to his career norms. Like you said, it's hard not to buy on Buchnevich. Um, just it was so down last season that even like a repeat of last season, you could say it would almost be hitting his stock. So I guess that would be more of a hold. But if he can get up to 60 points, I think that's hitting the green light for Booch. So I'm looking for 20, 25 goals and 60 points at least from Buchnevich. And I think 89 can absolutely do it.
Yeah, I agree. We're in the same boat here. All right, moving this along, we have made it out of the Bs. This might be our first sell for both of us. We've got Justin Falk up next when it comes to the alphabet. So last year, his age 32 season, played 78 games, scored 4 goals, 28 assists, so 32 points. Yeah, not a great year from Falk, 32 points. His second kind of mediocre year in a row. The prior 2 seasons to these past couple, so in 21-22 he had 47 points, in 22-23 he had 50. He's really dropped off the past couple of years. So it's on one hand it's hard to see. I could see an argument for buying just because there's so much room to go up for him, but I'm not very confident. I think I'm gonna this will be my first sell, and I think it's for obvious reasons. So I don't think we need to. At least I don't feel the need to get into it a whole lot. But Alec, what are you thinking?
Yeah, as much as I'd love to make a case to buy here, I think I'm going to have to sell also. Just like you said, it can't get much worse, but even if it is status quo for him, I think that's another unsuccessful season. I think the benchmark for a successful Justin Falk season is much higher than it was last year and much higher than he's shown in years previous. He just needs to hit the net more often. Once again, goal
Mm-hmm.
scoring was Falk's way to points previously with 16 goals and 11 goals in 2022 and 2023. Then the past 2 seasons had 2 goals and then 4 goals, just not burying shots in the net. In those seasons, he had 100 in the 2022 season. He had 167 shots on goal with a 9.6 shooting percentage. 2023 season, he had 196 shots on goal with a 5.6 shooting percentage. And then those totals absolutely plummeted. 2 seasons ago, he had 132 shots on goal for a 1.5% shooting percentage. And last season, he had 124 shots for a 3.2 shooting percentage. So he's just not hitting the net, and he's not hitting the net consistently. And with Mayu coming up from behind pushing him, I could kind of see there being some competition there. And maybe the competition breeds excellence for Falk, and that's what you can hang your hat on. But I'm gonna go with the sell camp on this one.
Yep, I agree. I think there's a chance that if he starts to rack up some power play points, we could see him look a little better. But he's really got a ways to go here. So this will be our first sell. All right, on to another defenseman whose last name starts with F, Cam Fowler. Alec, I'm gonna let you take this one first. I'm gonna read his stats real quick. So his season was sort of a tale of 2 teams here. Started in Anaheim, played 17 games and only had 4 assists. That was his point total as well. So 4 points from those assists. Once he came to St. Louis, though, really had a much better year. In 51 games with St. Louis, had 9 goals, 27 assists. So he finished the entire season out with 68 games played, 9 goals, 31 assists for 40 points. Really stabilized the blue line. But Alec, which way are you leaning with Cam Fowler? Like, this is an interesting discussion and one that we've had in recent weeks. Starting to get a little bit older, but he had a great year. Can he keep it going one more year? Which way are you leaning?
I am actually gonna go sell on Cam Fowler, and my reasoning for that is just because the pace he was on with the Blues, 36 points in 51 games, is absurdly good. That
Yeah.
would put him like above 50 points for a defenseman, and I don't know that I see him producing at like a 55 point pace over a full season. Now, I do think Cam like this is when at the head when we were talking about how it's relative. I do think Cam Fowler is going to have a very good season. I'm actually very excited to watch Cam Fowler this season. I think he's going to be a very important contributor for this team, but I don't think he's going to be best defenseman or best player in Blues playoff hockey history
That
level of good
was
this
awesome
coming
though.
season. Yeah, as awesome as that was, I don't see him repeating at that torrid pace. I don't know that he hits I think if he has another like 40 to 45 point season, that would be a very and I think that's doable for Fowler. So it's kind of, you could call it, I guess, a soft sell maybe.
Hmm.
Um just relative to how amazing he was. Like I said, Cam Fowler I think is going to have an awesome season for the Blues. I just don't think it's going to be quite as amazing as he was last season. He kind of had a magical rebirth and getting a year older and whatnot. I could see him finishing out his contract, having a good to solid season, and then sort of walking out into the sunset on the Blues tenure.
Yeah, he had a bit of a renaissance in St. Louis. And then to your point, he was shooting so on the season as a whole. I mean, like in St. Louis alone, it was kind of absurd. He shot 12.7%. So his season averaged out to 10.2%. Even that lower, season total average of 10.2, that's 94th percentile for a defenseman in the NHL. The NHL average for shooting percentage for a defenseman is 5.4%. I don't know if I see him repeating that. That feels a little unsustainable. Feels like he's hitting above his weight a little bit there, maybe getting a little bit lucky. But then again, like his style is a little bit different from most defensemen. He likes to get a little bit closer than a lot of defensemen do to take his shots. But that's neither really, I don't think that sways me a whole lot. The point I'm trying to make is that level of production feels a little unsustainable to me. I think he'll regress back to the mean a little bit. I think he'll still have a very productive year, like you said. But I think I'll agree, and I'll go soft sell. He does feel like a bit like a hold candidate. But in terms of full season body of work, I'm gonna go sell and hope that I'm wrong, but sell and think that maybe he starts to sort of um, I don't know, taper off a little bit when it comes to his career. I would love to be wrong. So really hoping he goes out there and repeats or has a better year, and you know I'll you know put a foot in my mouth, I guess. But yeah, that's my thought on Fowler, and I think he and Pareko can repeat as a productive pair. Maybe some of that production goes more Pareko's way than Fowler's way. Um, but yeah, sounds like we're both selling a little bit on Fowler. Okay, next guy we've got is our other goalie, Joel Hofer. Um, so Joel Hofer, as the backup last year, had a bit of a worse year in some respects than the year before. Both he and Benner in 23-24 were such a productive tandem. It was hard to follow up on that and do that again. Still had a solid year. So played 31 games, started 28 of those, had a record of 16, 8, and 3. So winning record there. Had a save percentage of 904 and a goals allowed average of 2.64. So an improvement in terms of goals allowed average. Year before he had 2.65. So I mean, you could say that's basically a rounding error. Fell off a little bit with save percentage. Had 913 the year before. We haven't really seen him get much more of a share of the starts over the past couple of years. He's been pretty stuck at 30, or I guess just staying at that 30 mark. But we did see him face off against some tougher opponents than the year before this most recent season. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him. If he starts to, look like he's ready to earn some more starts, will they give it to him? I guess it depends on how Benner's playing as well. But I want to hear your lean on Hofer first. Are you buying or selling on him?
Hofer is a really interesting case. He finished last season with negative 4.3 goals saved above expected, which was 45th in the league, which is really not all that impressive. It's, not starting caliber, which he's not a starter, but there are a lot of backups who still found their way into the top 32. Um, I I'm struggling with this one. I think I'm gonna go soft buy on Hofer, probably if anything, just because I'm a Blues fan and optimistic by nature. Um, I I think there's really a case to be made either way. Man, last season he won 16 games. That's really impressive.
Hmm.
So with Hofer, I think he had a lot of really bad blow up games that kind of tanked his numbers. And I think he could get back into that sort of 9-10 where I want Bennington to finish up too, not around 9-10 save percentage mark. I think he can do it because I think as long as he stabilizes his game, which previously up to that point in his career had shown that he is more than able to stabilize the netminder situation and not have really, really bad starts. And last year, I think he just had a goalie year. Goalies will goalie. And I think he's going to goalie his way to a successful season. So I'm going to go soft buy on Joe Hofer.
I think I'll buy as well. He's another year older, another full year of experience in the NHL under his belt. So I'm gonna buy on him. I think goalies tend to get better with age. They're hard to predict. So I mean, like I could see this being a down year for him after a couple solid seasons. But I don't know. I feel like experience is so valuable. He got to play some high leverage games down the stretch. I think that will be incredibly valuable for him in terms of his development. And so I'm gonna soft buy just because just for those reasons. I think he's another year older and that'll only help him. So I'm gonna buy. Okay, I actually do want to hear your case on this next guy first. So we've got Dylan Holloway. I'll be curious. I mean, I don't know which way you're going to go with this based on some of the discussions we've had recently. Last year, 77 games, 26 goals, 37 assists, 63 points, shot 14.6%. Um, really had a fantastic year. He finished 26th in Selke voting. Breakout year for Holloway, made a name for himself on that second line and heartbreakingly missed the first round of the playoffs. Maybe could have helped the team out a whole lot, but I'm curious to hear where you're going to go with this. So I want to hear your take here.
This is a really big year for Holloway. He had his first real season in the NHL after two sort of half seasons where he didn't show much in Edmonton, showed flashes, but this is his first time to establish either that's who he was last year or maybe it's somewhere more in the middle between what he was in Edmonton where he was flashing it but not really showing off the whole consistent package or this season to where he was just or last season to where he was just phenomenal. And I'm actually going to sell on Holloway. And here's my take. I think Holloway had such a fantastic year that I think there was a little bit if you watch the tape on how he scored a lot of his goals, a lot of them were from like medium range shots finding the back of the net, which can happen year to year, but I think isn't quite as repeatable. Also, I think scoring 26 goals in 77 games is just an absurd amount for a 23-year-old. Um, that I think there could be a step backwards. I still expect him to get around 20 to 25 goals and put up maybe 50, maybe 60 points. But I don't expect him to overachieve what he did last season just because I think last season was so excellent for him. I think there's a lot of ways that this could take a step back. Like you said, a 14.6 shooting percentage, that is incredible. That is a very high mark for a very unestablished player. It's kind of like a prove it year for me for Holloway. So I think I'm I'm expecting him to take a little bit of a step backwards just because it was so amazing last season and that was his first real full season. I think the league could figure him out a little bit and he's going to have to adapt and I still think he'll be a fine player and a fine second liner for sure. I just don't expect him to be like point per game, which he was almost point per game last season. A step forward would be closing in on point per game. As a 24-year-old, I think that's a little bit much for my taste, so I'm going to go sell on Holloway.
Okay, is this our first disagreement? Have we disagreed yet?
No, we haven't yet.
I don't guess that we have. So I'm actually going to buy. I'm going to buy on Holloway. I think the concern of the league catching up to him, or at least figuring him out, that's valid. We saw that happen a little bit with Neighbors this year. Whereas the point total increased for Neighbors, the goal total went down a little bit. I think they started to figure out his recipe a little bit and guard him more effectively, things like that. But Holloway, I don't see as much of a risk of that happening for him just because of how dynamic he is, and sort of the different ways that he's able to generate offense in particular. So I've mentioned NHL Edge is a great sort of stat platform for looking at players, and how they compare with the rest of the league. So just looking at these three metrics, right? Shots on goal, goals, and shooting percentage. You can filter between those. You can also filter between all locations, high danger, mid range, and long range. So for all three of those metrics, shots on goal, goals, and shooting percentage, he is well above average from high danger, from mid range, and long range. And on one hand, while that feels, I could see an argument that that might be unsustainable, at least with the shooting percentage metric. The rest of it, like it feels like that's something that's pretty repeatable, and it's pretty hard to shut that down, in my opinion. So like with in particular with his shots on goal. That's like where he really excels. From long range, had 95th percentile shots on goal for a forward, 91st percentile shots on goal from mid range for a forward, and 76th percentile shots on goal from high danger. A lot of offense, a lot of forwards find offense in that high danger spot. Dylan Holloway prefers it feels like to try and find a little bit more of it from mid range and especially mid range. So I just feel like he tries to generate enough offense from all over the ice. He does, at least last year, did generate enough offense from all over the ice that feels like something I could see him, taking steps with and maybe being hard to catch up to. I think if there is a way to shut that down, and the league figures it out, I see your argument for sure. But that's sort of the way I'm leaning. I feel like he's dynamic enough and talented enough, and maybe with some more playing time, if he can stay healthy, um, it feels like he could take some steps. So I'm gonna buy, but I totally get your sell argument as well because he really did have an excellent year, and it could be hard to improve on that, for him at this age.
I love it.
Okay, next we've got Matthew Joseph, who a little bit less exciting than some of the players we've discussed recently, but um, was a new face in St. Louis this year. 60 games played, 4 goals, 10 assists, 14 points. A little bit of a disappointment for me. The year before in Ottawa, he had 11 goals, 24 assists, and 35 points. I think part of that that switch has to do with the role he was playing and the team he was playing it on. Like the year before, he was probably asked to take on a bigger role on an Ottawa team that, I mean, sure, like had playoff hopes, but not crazy high expectations or anything like that. Um, he, I want to say that I'm buying on him. I feel like he could also be relegated to the bench or traded away pretty easily. So I'm gonna sell on Joseph. I like him as a guy. He seems like a really fun guy to have on the team. A great locker room presence for sure. He like I think he has a lot of value defensively. He's a great penalty killer. But in terms of will he be taking steps in the right direction? I don't really see it. I don't see much of a case for it. So I'm gonna sell on Matthew Joseph.
Yeah, I'm selling too. I think it like I think the point you brought up about he might not even see the ice is kind of hard for me to buy because he might not see the ice. There's currently 9 players vying for 6 spots in the bottom 6 right now, and Joseph is kind of on the outside looking in. It seems like definitely well liked by the team, like you said, but he in that really good season or in that good season in Ottawa, he was playing 16 minutes a night, 16 and a half minutes a night. This season, he was playing barely just under 12 minutes a night, and I think that time will go down. He had less ice time than guys like Nathan Walker and Oscar Sundquist, so I just don't see the opportunity there for Joseph. I'm selling.
Cool. Well, next up, I'm going to skip over some guys like Kessel and that kind of stuff just for the sake of time. But our next NHLer, we've got Jordan Kyrou, who last year played 82 games for the second year in a row. 36 goals scored, 34 assists, and 70 points. Kept a pretty similar trend going over the past few seasons. Finished with similar numbers in all three categories for the past 3 seasons. But I think the story of his season was some more development on the other side of the puck. Looked better defensively. Really found a groove on that second line. Um, Found a great line mate in Dylan Holloway. I'll let you go first on this one. What are you thinking on Kyrou this upcoming season?
I'm hard buying on Kyrou. I am so in on this season. I think what he showed last season, the steps that he took playing with a guy like Holloway, who I know I just sold on, but still there is that chemistry there.
Yeah.
I think Kyrou is going to benefit all from the play of guys like Holloway and Thomas and Shen. And I think he's going to be there to pick up the scraps. When Shen throws a big hit and creates an opening in the ice, Kyrou's going to be there to fill in. When Holloway takes a puck, drives the other way, I think Kyrou's going to be on the other side wide open. I think this is the year he finally hits 40. He scored 30 goals in 3 straight seasons. He has almost been an Iron Man for all 3 seasons, only missing 3 games in the last 3 years. Point totals of 73, 67, and 70 points. I mean, this guy is just Mr. Consistency. And he's right now entering his prime as a 27-year-old skater. I think this is the year Kyrou gets up to point per game and scores 40 and 42 or 40 and 45 or whatever it ends up being. I'm all in on Kyrou because I think also I kind of think he's going to get top line looks this season. I think that playing with Thomas does him a lot of favors, as it will with anybody. But this season, Kyrou has a lot to show off, and I think he's going to establish himself as the second best player on this team if he isn't already. Then why would you not want that guy on your top line? So I think the opportunity is going to be there for Kyrou. I think the development is coming for Kyrou, and I think we're going to witness something special from 25.
I like it there. Or I like it, and I think you said it there. His aging curve and sort of the timeline of his prime. That's kind of like right now. So I think I think what we've seen from him the past 3 years, as you said, he's Mr. Consistency, but he's also been working on other foundational areas of his game, like defense. I think he has made enough progress in those other categories that it feels like a good year for him to go ahead and take another step when it comes to that specialty of his, which is goal scoring and generating offense. So I like the take. I'm gonna say I'm buying as well. Um, just because, yeah, like I said, he really improved around the edges. It feels like a good time for him to get back to the offense and take some steps in that regard. So I really love what we got out of Kyrou. I think he doesn't deserve any of the hate. I think I agree that this is the year for 40, although we said that last summer too. But um, yeah, I'm excited about this one. I'm gonna skip over Lucic and go to Logan Mayu. I feel like this is an important one, and it
For sure.
feels it feels hard to sell. I don't know. I guess you could sell on him in the sense, not in the sense that he'll have a worse year, but in the sense that he might not have a great year. I guess just because
Yeah.
the track record and the comparison really isn't there. I'm gonna buy on him though. I think there's like an outside shot that this guy gets some Calder votes. Um, just depending on how quickly he can get going and if he doesn't look absolutely horrid when it comes to like decision making and defense and things like that. I think he's gonna generate some offense if he gets some looks. So I'm gonna buy on him. I think there's a chance he could work his way into a power play unit, maybe even quarterback the second unit or something at some point. So yeah, I'm gonna buy on him. I think that, like we discussed with Sam, there's enough people that trust him in the Blues and organization as well as outside of it that I think he's going to get the looks. and with the ice time is going to come some really solid offense. I think he's going to be pretty rough around the edges, but it's going to flash a lot of potential. So I'm gonna buy.
Yeah, I'm also gonna buy. I mean, boy, we are Blues fans buying on probably
We
90% of the players
Yeah,
here.
I know.
Um, but I'm
I
I'm
know.
also in on Mayu. I've made this point several times before, so I don't feel the need to exhaust it. But yeah, he's got the green lights from everybody who you'd want to, from Doug Armstrong, from Jim Montgomery. Really impressing in camp so far. We got the prospect showcase coming up soon. Um, and I think he's got the goal scoring ability to immediately impact games. Even though his defense is going to be rough to watch, I think if he can score goals to make up for it, he probably will, almost certainly will end up the season as a minus on the whole, just with the minutes that defensemen play and everything. But I think with his goal scoring ability, he can get north of 10. That would be a successful season for me. That's what I'm watching for, and I think there's a chance he could hit like, yeah, maybe even 50 points, which would be incredible as a rookie. But
Yeah.
I'm I'm absolutely in on Mayu because I think he can push Falk for that second pair. That's what I'm
Mm,
really watching for. Is I
mm.
think there's a chance that he overtakes Falk as the next guy on the second pair. And if he gets to play with Philip Broberg, I mean, watch out.
That would be a fun pair. Okay, let's move on to Jake Neighbors here. I think we're maybe trying to pick up the pace a tiny bit. Jake Neighbors last year played all 82, had 22 goals, 24 assists, so 46 points. Set a new career high in points, but took a step back in the goal scoring department. But really took a step when it comes to assisting. He had more than twice as many assists as the year before. So some development on in that regard. This is your guy. So would you like me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Why don't you lead us off?
Sure. Don't hate me, but I think I'm actually going to sell on Neighbors this year, and I think that's with the intention that, or with the expectation that I'm going to want to buy on him in the near future. But when it comes to if I'm just considering this next year, I'm going to sell on him just because I think his role, what he'll be asked to do, and the ice time he'll see will be a little bit less. We saw him playing a lot in the top six, a lot more in the top six in the past couple seasons than I think we'll see him play this year. So, you know, I think what we're going to get out of him is pretty similar to what we just got and what we got the year before. Maybe he can take some steps, but I don't know. I'm seeing third line for him, and while I could see him being one of the main goal scorers from that line, I just don't know that he's going to get the role and the ice time to really take some steps. So I'm gonna buy, but I mean, like Rob said in the chat, I'm gonna soft buy, and I'm gonna hope that I'm wrong. But
Soft
this is your
sell.
guy, or yeah, sorry, soft sell. You're right. Um, I was reading Rob's comment and got thrown off. Soft sell on Neighbors. But what's your thought?
Well, this is my guy. I'm buying on Neighbors.
All
I think
right.
he gets enough ice minutes. So in his first full season, he had an average time on ice of 15 minutes 42 seconds. Last season jumped up to 15:54, so not it's pretty comparable. I still think he stays north of 15 minutes. It'll probably be just around 15 minutes average time on ice as still a third liner they trust because Neighbors is a guy that this team absolutely loves. So I think the deployment is going to be there for him. I'd like to see him on that second power play unit, honestly, playing in
Hmm.
the bumper maybe, or just being in front of the goal, causing havoc, causing chaos. I would love to see that. And I think he's going to benefit a lot from playing with guys like Suter and Bugstad. I think if your third line is Neighbors, Suter, Bugstad, I think that's a really interesting, intriguing third line of goal scoring options of Neighbors who can play the physical.
We may have lost Alec there. Um, well, I'm gonna send him a text real quick. Okay, well, we were talking about Neighbors. Alec loves Neighbors, so I think the case he was trying to make was that he's buying on Neighbors. Let's see. Do we have you back, Alec? Rob said he got so excited about Neighbors he exploded. I'm gonna keep this ship moving right along until we get Alec back. So our next guy that we're gonna discuss is Colton Parayko. Um, and oh, Alec, are you here?
Am I here?
We got you back.
Check,
All right,
check.
you want
1,
to
2.
finish
Okay.
finish your point on Neighbors, and then we'll move on to Parayko.
All right. I think Neighbors is going to see both the rise of his goal scores and his assist totals. Like you said, he proved that he's able to get those assists. And
Yeah,
I think playing with a guy like Bugstad and Suter, who, if Neighbors is carrying the puck, drops it off and lays a big hit, that leaves an opening for a guy like Suter or Bugstad to do the same, and then Neighbors can finish and bury it. I expect his goal totals. Maybe not expect, but I'm buying the idea that his goal totals can go up too, just as a young player improving. I think I have a hot take related to Neighbors that I'll save for our hot takes episode, but I think he's going to be one of the better contributors on this team despite his reduced minutes, and I'm in on Neighbors. Sorry
I
about the
like it.
technical difficulties, anyway, everyone.
No worries, no worries. We're just glad you're back and you didn't explode like Rob said. Um, okay, well let's move on to Parayko here, who had a career
That's
year
funny.
had a career year last year. 64 games played, 16 goals, 20 assists, 36 points, set a career high in points and goals scored in only 64 games. Like that's his like one of his lowest season totals in his career, and still managed to do it. So his pace was insane. Um, look, I'm gonna. This one's a little bit weird. I'm gonna sell on Pareko in the sense that I don't see him playing at the same level as he was playing at last year. But I might buy on the fact that the year end numbers will look better. Um, so I guess when it comes to the Pareko we're gonna get on the ice, I'm gonna soft sell. I feel like there's a really good chance that he could keep it going for sure. I might be talking myself out of this, but I'm gonna stick to it and soft sell on Pareko just because I think quality of play wise and pace wise, it'll be a little bit of a step back, even if the year end numbers don't look all that different.
I am in on Pareko. I think his pace was just so good under Monty that I think his year end numbers, I kind of agree that it probably will end up being kind of similar, but I'm still gonna buy on Pareko because I'm just buying on everybody today apparently. Um,
I'm
I
trying to
think
be
with
a little bit
Pareko,
like a little bit,
yeah.
you know, fair, I guess. I don't know. Trying to insert some alternative opinions here, but what do you got?
I think that the Blues are going to have one of the top offenses in the league this season, and I think Pareko's ice time is just going to benefit from that in general. As a player who's going to play the most minutes on the team, I would imagine him or Thomas probably. I think he's going to benefit from playing next to some of the greatest, like or some of the how do I want to word this? Some very good offensive threats. Um, and I think Pareko's not only that, but the way he scored his goals, I brought this up before, aren't really fluky. So I expect it to continue to at a torrid pace. And I'm buying on Pareko this year.
Okay, I like it. For the record, I hope I'm wrong. The more I think about it, I might also I might change my mind, but I'm just gonna stick to it right now.
Sure.
Okay, next up we got Braden Shen, El Capitan. Had kind of a resurgence a bit last year. 18 goals, 32 assists, 50 points, played all 82. Centered that very potent second line. I'm gonna sell a little bit on Shen. I think just given what we got out of him and that second line last year, in terms of on ice production, I think he takes a bit of a step back from what we saw last year. I don't think it's a huge step back. Like I think it's probably down a few points or something like that. Like we saw 46 points the year before that. I could see something, you know, around there, 40 to 45 ish point total. soft selling on Shen. I think he'll still be very valuable, still be very productive overall, and be like legit. The heart of the team, like we saw him being this year. Um, but I feel like the chances of that second line keeping the Magic going, as much as I would love it, I don't think it's a sure thing, and so I'm gonna soft sell on Shen.
I actually don't have anything to add. I agree totally. I'm gonna soft sell just because I think that second line was so magical, like you said,
Yeah.
and I think that's unlikely that they repeat that. And for that reason, I think his numbers are going to dip just a little bit, somewhere in the range of like 15 goals, still probably 30 or so assists, around maybe
Mm,
28 assists, call it, for 43 points. I could
mm.
see that. Like, so I am with you on Shen.
Cool. We got some exciting names coming up. We got Snuggerud, Suter,
Big
Thomas.
ones.
But before we do that, why don't we go through some of these depth options and just like what like you don't get to make your case, you're just buying or selling. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Oscar Sundquist, I'm selling.
Um, I wasn't prepared for this. um, I will also sell.
Okay. All right. Next we've got Alexei Toropchenko. Take a moment to think about it.
Okay, I got it.
What do you got?
I am buying on Torpo.
You're buying on Torpo. Okay,
Raise
I'm
the
gonna buy as
Torpo
well.
meter, baby.
I'm gonna buy as well for the Torpo
Yeah.
meter. For the Torpo meter. All right. Nathan Walker. I it's my turn to go first, I guess. Um Nathan Walker, I'm gonna buy on Nathan Walker actually.
My Blues, unfortunately, I have to sell.
Selling on Nathan Walker. Um okay, Tyler Tucker, you're going first this time.
Buy.
Buying on Tyler Tucker. I'm gonna buy as well. And
Yeah.
then
Actually, can
Alex,
I use my first hold?
you're gonna hold on Tyler Tucker. Fair enough. I can't ask why. That's against the rules of this mini exercise. Do you want to lump Tex in with these depth options, or do you want to talk about them? I
Yeah.
could see it going both ways. Depth. Are you okay? Is this my turn to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. It's so hard. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna believe.
I'm selling.
All right. Those are our depth pieces. Let's close it out with these three. Okay, we've got Snuggerud, Suter, and Bobby T to close it out. Let's just go in that order. Jimmy Snuggerud. So this is our future Calder Trophy winner, Jimmy Snuggerud. Once he came up to St. Louis last year, he had in 7 games played 1 goal, 3 assists. But in the playoffs, in 7 games played, tacked on an additional 2 goals and 2 assists. Looked the part, looked pretty ready. Um, this feels like a pretty easy buy for me. I'm expecting big things out of this guy. I think he's going to get the minutes. I think he's going to be on that top line. I think he's going to be on that top power play. Yeah, I'm buying.
We've talked a lot of Snuggerud, and I think rightfully so. I'm absolutely buying. I maybe not so boldly. I don't think this counts as a bold prediction. I don't know. And I've already made it before, but Snuggerud's my Calder pick. Um,
Yeah,
and I'm just so bought in on the Snuggerud for Calder
yeah,
agenda.
yeah,
He's so good. He looks so comfortable and confident at the NHL level. He doesn't
yeah.
look like rookied at all. He played so well in his minutes last season that I'm buying on Snuggerud. Give me that. This is like my hardest buy of the episode.
This might be one of the easiest buys I think that we've got. Okay, Pius Suter. Obviously, I don't know if he's a big name, but the main free agent signing of the offseason for the Blues. Played for Vancouver last year. Excuse me. Had 81 in 81 games played. Had 25 goals, 21 assists, and 46 points. Set a career high in goals tied a career high in assists and set a career high in points by 10. Had a great year, but was relied upon quite a bit. I'm gonna let you go first on this one. What are you thinking on Suter? And I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we're just comparing to last season. So what are your thoughts?
I'm actually going to use my only other hold here on Suter. I think he's got the opportunity to make a statement, but I'm not sure it's going to come. I think his deployment could be a little bit wonky and could take some time to really settle in. And so for that reason, that would be kind of a reason to sell. But at the same time, he's entering the right year in his aging curve as a young 29-year-old. And he's going to be playing with guys like Jake Neighbors, um, maybe Kyrou and Holloway, um, and probably Bugstad too. So there's going to be a lot of meat on the bone for those players. I don't know how much of it is going to go Suter's way, but he's playing in a much better situation in St. Louis, where I think they're going to be a top offensive team in the league. So I think his year-end statistics are probably going to end up right about where they did last season at 25 goals, 21 assists. Maybe call it 20 goals and 25 assists, or I guess 21 goals and 25 assists if you want to call it the same. So I'm actually going to hold on Suter. I think he has a very similar season to what he did last year. Maybe he doesn't score as many goals, but gets the assist numbers because of the opportunity of playing in St. Louis. But because of his deployment, it's going to be a little bit weird to get used to. Might have a bit of a slow start before really settling in with the team. So I'm going to use my other hold here.
Okay. I'm gonna buy on Suter. This was the guy I
Your
wanted
guy.
them to go and get this offseason, and by golly, they did it. So I would feel weird selling on him just because he's the guy I wanted. So I just see him meshing really well with what the Blues have. I see him fitting in like a puzzle piece to what they need. Um, so I think he's gonna get a solid look on that third line. I think if Shen starts to fall off, which I think is a very real possibility, we might see Suter get some looks on that second line as well. So I think the opportunity to play will definitely be there. Um, and I'm sort of counting on him to have discovered something offensively last year. Like I think part of it was he was being relied on a little bit more than career norms, but I think my analysis is I'm sort of counting on that opportunity to have helped him, unlock something a little bit offensively. So I think he keeps it going. I think he has a great year. I'm gonna buy on Suter.
Yeah.
All right, and then we are closing things out with this is such a great guy to close things out with here. The MVP, the star, the all star. Um, Bobby T, Robert Thomas. Sorry, I'm stalling as I get his page pulled up. Um, Robert Thomas
Suspense.
last year in 70 games played had 21 goals, 60 assists, and 81 points. Um, so tied a career high in assists, but did not have as good a year as he did the year before when he had 26 goals and 86 points. Part of that is just less fewer games played. He missed 12 games in the regular season, but his pace down the stretch was insane. Just crazy hot post Four Nations, and we've talked about this before here on the pod. Just his 82 game pace was plus 100 points post Four Nations. So really close it out in style. Um, I'm gonna go first and let you close it out. I'm gonna buy on Robert Thomas. I think this is like we discussed with Sam. This is a year that I think if he doesn't break 100 points, he'll get super close, like 98. If he doesn't, I see this as being like a career-defining season here. I think he's gonna set the bar crazy high, gonna make it really hard for himself to repeat. I see this as one of the best seasons he'll have in his career. So I'm looking for a big jump from Robert Thomas. I'm gonna go all in on this guy. I'm going to buy. Although when you're as good as he is, it can be hard to get much better. But I think he'll stay healthy. And then, like we've discussed with Benner and as Matt, sort of mentioned in the chat, there's the Olympics again this year, so I think the motivation will be there. I think the groove that he got into last off season, or sorry, late last season will really help. So yeah, I'm gonna buy, pretty confident buy on Robert Thomas.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna sell on Robert Thomas. No, what do you think this is? Thomas is the guy. Thomas is the heart of this team's offensive engine. This is the easiest buy candidate of the episode, and if you're a Blues fan watching and aren't buying in on Thomas this season, I don't know what to tell you, because except sit back and watch the show that's about to come out unfold for your eyes, because it's beautiful watching him play. The only thing, and I mean the only thing you could say about Thomas is he does have to stay healthy for the full season.
Yeah.
So going back the last 4 seasons, starting with last season, he played 70 games last season, then 82 the season before. So full season there, but then 73 and then 72 games. So does have a bit of a track record of missing just a couple games, but has done it each year. And I remember last year, we thought his injury was going to be like a long-term injury, like multiple months. And he ended up rushing his recovery and came back and then played better after being hurt, which is hilarious. But he's Superman. Rob Thomas is like one of the most underrated, perennially underrated players in the league. I think I'm with you. This is the year that he puts it all together as a 26-year-old, playing with some of the best players he's had in his career. Guys like Snuggerud, guys like Kyrou, everyone else who we've talked about in this episode bouncing back, getting maybe some offensive contributions from the defense more than in years past. I think it's all there in front of him. And then, of course, having one of, if not the best regular season coaches in the entire league at the head. This is going to be Jim Montgomery's piece de resistance for this offense that I'm projecting to be one of the greatest in the league. And yeah, give me all of the Robert Thomas stock. And if you're not on this train, I just feel sad for you.
Agreed. So in 23-24, he finished 25th in Selke voting. Last year, jumped up to 21st in Selke voting, finished 18th in Hart voting, so got himself some votes there. I think he keeps that going. I think he climbs the Selke ballot. I think he climbs the Hart ballot, gets some more serious consideration. I'm not saying I think he's going to win it, but I think he's going to get some more legit consideration and respect in the in the ballots. And so I think he keeps it going. Yeah, this is. I'm so excited to watch prime Robert Thomas.
We haven't even reached his prime. Like,
we haven't. So like the sayings, like I think it's in The Office or something. Like, I wish you knew you were in the good old days before you left them or whatever. Like this, like we're here. Like this is it.
We haven't
this is Robert
entered
Thomas's,
the good old days for Robert Thomas yet.
Yeah, like it's
and
coming.
He's still
it's
over point
awesome.
per game.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. Well, this is a bit of a lengthy episode, so thanks for staying with us, everyone. Just here before we close out, though, we've got some preseason games coming up. Next Saturday, preseason begins. September 20th. They're playing the Dallas Stars. So we're gonna, before we get there, we're gonna continue to provide some season preview coverage. I think we've got a Central Division preview coming up soon. We've got bold predictions coming up soon. So keep an eye out for those episodes. We'd love to have everyone in the chat for those, ask questions about the Central Division and talk about some of the other, some of the Blues rivals and opponents, and then help us with our bold predictions. Give us your feedback on those and then maybe make some of your own. We'd love to have everyone join us live for that. What else? I think we're gonna try to be back here sometime this weekend for another episode, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. And then if you would like to join our fantasy league, the link to sign up is in the chat. That will close Monday, September 15th at midnight. We'd love to have anyone that wants to play join us. I think that'll do it for us this time. Thanks for sticking with us for a lengthy episode. We will see you next time. And of course, as always, let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.